Hi, I'm Dorian, or Leviathan to my friends, and I'm an eldritch abomination lurking in the corners of your attic. I'm also an artist, and I am looking to teach myself character design, or at least more detailed character design, and concept art, and all that good stuff. And I thought I would take you guys along on the journey. And this will be sort of a series of things that I'm going to try where I just build a character from scratch. I might try some pre generated stuff of my own. I've tried it out before and I kind of liked it. So we might do that, but like with another twist. But, anyways, yeah, this is going to be the first one of that series, and I'm trying to make a necromancer that's not really like a stereotypical necromancer. But I won't describe it too much or complicate it too much just now. Hopefully, you enjoy. If you have any recommendations or if you want to see anything on the channel in particular, please let me know in the comments below. But anyway, yeah, let's start. So to start off with, I am just thumbnailing. I'm trying to get a feel for the character who, like I said, is going to be a necromancer type character, one who is sort of mean, and a little bit standoffish and sort of an anti-hero type. We we love villains here on this channel, or redeemable villains at the very least. So we're going to try that out. And I'm just trying to make things really dramatic and figure out a good balance between wanting a character who's really good or at least adept in doing magic, but trying to hide it, and also somebody who knows how to use a sword, or at the very least knows how to show that they're using a sword. Maybe not in the best way, kind of like a charlatan, I suppose. I did want to give them sort of like a really big sword that necessarily didn't fit their body type logically. I know they're gonna turn out very stick manish or kind of lean, but have a really big sword that maybe looks like a butcher esque. I don't know yet. So oh yes, the cane. I really enjoyed the cane aspect of this, but I felt it was a little too Victor from Arcane. So here I am trying to figure out this other pose that I came up with, and it's a really nice hunched over pose that I feel is dramatic, but and I did end up using it, but I think I might scrap it after the fact just because it doesn't really fit. But I'll get into that later. So this is where I start Frankensteining my poses, which I don't know if everybody sort of knows to do this or if it was just me starting out, but at, at first I thought you had to come up with a new pose for every design you made, or whatever, or each concept. You don't have to do that whatsoever. Literally, Frankenstein poses as much as you want. It really helps me in the concepting stage anyway. Uh, just because I don't want to be looking at references all the time. They do help immensely. Use references as much as you want, but like just for me and my preferences, Frankensteining poses in the first part of the concept stage is immensely helpful. By this stage, I kind of already have an idea of which of the poses that I've made that I do want to use, and they'll be at least the ones in my brain that are more dramatic out of all of them. And they tend to be the ones where they're holding the weapon sort of like an axe, or looking at the magic ball or whatever, pensively, I suppose. And again, here's the hunched over pose. I mean, it is definitely dramatic, but I ended up having such a hard time with that pose in general, trying to put clothes on it and stuff like that. And maybe that's something that I just need to work on. But it did not fit the vibe. I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. And here is where I'm starting to set up and put down colors, which I'll talk about it later. But I should not have started with putting down colors to begin with. I just thought, well, one, that it would look good, but also I had it stuck in my mind that I wanted four distinct sets of different designs with different skin tones, which isn't like a bad thing, you know, but I definitely should have just started in grayscale and went from there. It was just a decision that I decided to make, and I went with it because I have ADHD and I'm riddled with impulsive decisions and the too much gene as per usual. So, while I am doing this sort of posing work or working out exactly how I want anatomically for this stuff to work, we'll make it a bit faster. But I just did want to say, like, don't be afraid, once again, to Frankenstein poses if you're going to do stuff like this. You don't need it to be perfect 100% of the time. It's just so that you can get your concepts out and make them sort of a map for what you want to do later. That's really all that matters in this stage. Don't be afraid to be really fast and loose with it, honestly. Like, just do what you want. Do what you want. And this hunch pose again. I really liked the wonky legs. I really did. For now, though, we'll just have to scrap those. And well, after this is where I start blocking in the color again. I probably shouldn't have done that, but I did it anyway. So yeah, I do think this is probably the section where blocking colors did help me, though, with the little magical balls. Where like I wanted to establish the color palette, which sometimes helps me with the vibe of the character itself. I don't know. Sometimes I associate emotions with colors, or like I don't know, just the vibes alone. I think a lot of people are probably like that. So I really did want a high neck cape sort of thing, like a high neck collar, and I really liked the idea of a cape being all ragged and sort of like a Dracula aesthetic or a Strahd aesthetic. But I just couldn't get it to work. I couldn't. At least not here. And I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe I was just art blocked, or clothing is probably something I need to work on, really. But yeah, I just couldn't get to work. And I thought this design right here with that cape just obscured too much of the body to really be useful. So I was really at a loss of what to do here. I was just going in with guns blazing, with no thoughts, head empty. Just really thinking about the general vibe of a necromancer, and it again just wasn't working with that high collar. I really like the Victorian aesthetic, so I wanted to really lean into it, but it just wasn't happening that first time around. So went with the stereotypical, really ragged edged robes, really high neck as well. When I think of a necromancer, I think of somebody that is usually wearing something skin tight, covered in bones, and a lot of silver, maybe some gold, but a lot of silver. And I also do think of the stereotypical necromancer green, but maybe that's just me. I see a lot of necromancers with like red and purple, rather, but that also might just be because I associate necromancers with drow and Lolth as well, which I'll get into later, but it's just a whole thing. I really like these pointy shoes. I continue with the pointy shoes. I played Dragon Age a lot a few years ago, and I love pointy shoes. I love the claws. My favorite character is Fenris, so that's gonna show a lot. And here, what's gonna really show is that I've played Baldur's Gate 3 a lot, and I particularly like the armor that you get after defeating Ketheric Thorm. Spoilers, I'm sorry. And he has all of these hands like all over his armor, and I wanted to at least put them on the pauldrons, and then I did put them on the hips, which I enjoyed. But again, this outfit in particular was giving a little too much stereotypical necromancer. It was all right. It was an okay design choice, but it was definitely not what I was thinking in the beginning of character who looks like he's a fighter, but he's not. He's a necromancer, or a necromancer that doesn't look like a necromancer. I also decided to give them long hair, just because when I think of these types of characters, I think of that really like kind of wet, bedraggled, pathetic, wet cat look, that everybody loves and adores. The Blorbos that are evil and sad, and long hair just really fits that. Also made them an elf because this is supposed to be a fantasy character, and if I play a fantasy character, I want to be an elf. Now, this second design I did like, but it is more of a roguish type of design. Wasn't really what I was thinking in my head or going for, but it came out anyway. Um, it's more asymmetrical and does give off a foreboding sense, just not in the right manner, I felt. I did, however, really like the way that I do this belt coming up here. It's based off of those Victorian hand belts that you'll see. And I do continue this motif both with the hand pauldrons and the hand belt. And I really think that adds to a sense of weirdness about this character that doesn't seem good, but also doesn't really lend to the fact that he's a necromancer unless you're really metagaming it, I think. Um, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe it pans out, maybe it doesn't. I still will probably use the hands because I just really like it. It's fine. I did really like this thought of having like a colored inside of the cape, or like any bits that draped off as well, but I ended up scrapping that at the end anyway. It looks fine here. It looks perfect here, even to me at the very least, but it just didn't vibe. And here is the infamous hunched over pose. I also felt at the very end that this was a little too much Victor from Arcane when he's going crazy, as you will. But it served its purpose. It was dramatic enough, and I felt that maybe it showed a bit more personality. It's fine as a personality piece, but it wasn't what I needed to be able to design a proper outfit, which you can see here because it was being. I was just having issues designing around this pose in particular. And this is more of a. I don't even know. I don't know if this is a pirate or what this is, but again, I just hated it. I really did not like this pose whatsoever. I didn't even add hair onto it. I didn't like it so much. But at the very least, here we are with my beloved drow. And unfortunately, I did struggle quite a bit with this first design. I have a necromancer character that's a king, and he's more of a cleric, a warlock type of necromancer. He was a wizard at first, and then I respect him over the course of the years. But he does wear full armor just because I want him to. So I thought I would try to lean into that. It sort of worked out. I was able to, at the very least, get the like the hands on the shoulders working, but Again, this is my Dragon Age showing where I'm desperately trying to figure out how this this plate on the chest is going to work, and I just continuously feel like what I was doing really only gave Fenris vibes. So it worked and it didn't. At the very least, I gave this one a crown. I gave this one a cool crown, which I think sets it apart, and that is entirely what matters to me. But yeah, oh gosh, these hands. I wanted to incorporate more hands, and I was thinking about, those like boob boob hands, something like this, but it was like the ladies that you'll see where they're scantily clad, and like necromancers, but the skeleton hands are like cupping their chest, like that sort of a thing. I didn't end up going with it, obviously, but I did try again to do the hands on the hips sort of a thing. I did like that from the first design. I don't think it really worked here. This feels very bug-like to me. And again, the silhouette at the very least is giving very Fenris from Dragon Age. And while that is fine and it works on him, it wasn't something that I was trying to go for or trying to replicate. And it was really, really bothering me, especially in this design at first. So I was trying to think of things to get away from that. And here you'll see that I'm making more of a billowing sleeve, which I thought added quite a bit to it. And then I'm doing more of like a ragged sort of robes thing underneath the armor. It again, this first design was okay, but I was definitely getting frustrated with it. Definitely at this point, and I'm giving the quintessential pointy shoes here, and then just I'm marring it with that silver color because I was so frustrated. But at the very least, it had color, and I thought that's what I was going for at the time. So, we can't all win. We can't all win. Sometimes we have to take the L, and that was definitely what I was doing on that first one. This second one, again, like the second one on the first set of designs, I really did enjoy. I have a couple characters that have this sort of like a webbing motif, and I really enjoy the Victorian neckline, which is what you'll see on shirts like this. And I was able to put in the hands again. But with this second design, definitely more of a wow, this person is super evil. This is definitely some sort of weird, like, Lolth necromancer person. And again, that wasn't what I was trying to go for. And I mean, I leaned into it because I was just having fun at the time, and I do really like the spider web motifs and things like that, but wasn't what I was going for. Might use it in the future though, because out of all of them, aside from the last designs that I do like this one the most. It just has a certain vibe to it, and maybe it's because I put a lot of red in there, and I do tend to gravitate towards more monochromatic color palettes that have a splash of like neon red. I think it really brings out the character and makes you drawn towards them. I don't know why. There's probably some sort of psychology in that, but I don't know it, so it's fine. But long story short, I did enjoy this second design quite a bit. I just don't think it was the right one for this type of character. And I did really like this belt that I did though. I do try to carry it over into the last design that I do. I ditched the book because it really wasn't working with the design itself, but it really worked for this one. It did. And again, this hunched pose, this and a little bit on the last design that I do. This was really the nail in the coffin for this one. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. I at first wanted to do a sort of Catholic priest inspired thing, and I start off maybe on the right foot with the really long little cloth bits in front for the robes, but it was just obscuring the design entirely, and it wasn't what I wanted, and it was incredibly frustrating. Uh, it's just I couldn't figure out what it looked like in my head, and really I just went with a stereotypical pirate like run fair outfit after that to give myself a break, which by the way you should do. You should always give yourself a break if you're doing long things like this, and if it comes in the form of drawing a really silly and perhaps not practical or interesting design, just do it. It's okay if you scrap it. Really, it's fine. Delete your art, as Karina from Drawfee says. Just delete it, and it'll be fine after the fact. You'll come out with another better drawing, and that's all anybody can hope for. This boot, though, bad. Like, what is this? What is it? What did I do here? That's so terrible. But thank God I had the wherewithal to delete it and then try again. Because not that this one is any better, but like that was bad. That was a terrible, terrible, terrible one. A terrible boot. Worst thing I've ever drawn. Definitely, for sure. Here is a little bit of a flash warning as well. I'm going to start going through color gradients. It was really to get to the black and white. My iPad was a little messed up, so it really flickers between those colors. But this is the part where I had a break and I sat down with my husband and asked him really what he thought about my designs and if he had any advice. And he pointed out that a lot of people actually don't start with color in concepting, and they really go to black and white and try to get the values in. And now I'm not very good at values, but I thought that was pretty sound advice, so I started going for it, and it did help. It was also at this point where I started thinking about what I personally like to put in designs and use for my own characters. And I started thinking about more Victorian aspects. I really like Curse of Strahd. I like Undead, obviously, because we're making a necromancer. But I really like that, like, horror aspect, the Victorian horror aspect. So I started going into it. I started thinking of Bloodborne. Man, I really need to put these tassels in the final because I missed these tassels. I completely forgot about them, and I really enjoy putting tassels on things. Tassels and hands, hands and tassels. That is what we're going for here. We also have the return of the hand belt, which is great. I definitely was looking at my mouse pad, which is the cover art of the Curse of Strahd book at this point, and I did feel a bit of rejuvenation of inspiration from that, thankfully. Thank you, Strahd. It also made me start thinking about other, well, IPs that I enjoy and that are in like a Victorian sort of essence. And I started thinking about Bloodborne and how much I really enjoy the little lantern that you can get. So I wanted this guy to have a little lantern. And I completely forgot to put said lantern into the other designs, but it will make it in, I promise. I also finally got in my high collar moment. Well, a sort of high collar, I suppose, but we get what we can get. Really, I was just enjoying the fact that I was vibing at this point, thinking about all of my little special interests and how I could incorporate them. And again, it could be that I switched into black and white or that I took a break, this, that, or the other thing. But if you're feeling that you're really stuck on a design and you don't know where to go from there, really just take a break, talk to somebody, show them your work, or take a walk and then come back and see if you can figure out anything else from there. There's no harm in it. There really isn't. And it's okay if you take things slow at first. That's really what I'm trying to show at this point, is that, just do what you want and it'll come. And here I am trying to figure out halos and spikes and stuff to really add to that. But, that's maybe a little too evil. And now I'm starting to put belts in. We love belts. And of course, he needs to have a little scabbard. This is where I tried to put the book in from the other design. It just didn't work though. It really clashed with the book. Or with the lantern, maybe if I had put it on the other hip, it would have worked better. But it just didn't. It just didn't vibe. So we took it out. And now I'm putting, of course, little finishing touches on. I really liked the spikes, but I wanted to have it show in a way that was more of a armor based, like maybe not a necessity, but something that made it look less intimidating or evil, I suppose. And I thought those little jutting out parts worked. And I'm trying to put color in here again. It just didn't work. Like many things, it just didn't. There was too much going on at that point, which is fine, but we do what we can. And of course, I got to put hair on him. I remembered to finally put hair on him. And now we're finally getting to his sword, which again, from earlier, I wanted to make it very almost butcher knife-esque, or big and intimidating, really. At first, it looked a little too much like the gunblade from Final Fantasy that Squall uses, so I decided to give it a different hilt at the very least. I will probably change up the blade and make it more butcher-esque, but for now, that's what we're doing. Here I'm trying to figure out how the design is going to work on the other body. I was starting to doubt that I could put it on the other body, but I managed to do it. And maybe I was starting to lose a little bit of steam and I should have taken another break, but I didn't. And that's okay, but maybe don't practice that. If you feel like you need to take a break, take a break. Don't just plow through it. It's not good. And I do a little bit more with the cape. I definitely forget the lantern here. I think I forget a little bit of a few of pieces, but a few of the pieces. And I think that's because I was also looking over at the hunched pose and really worrying about what I was going to do with that, because again, it was already giving me issues and I really liked this design at this point, and I was worried I just wouldn't make it work. And I kind of did and I kind of didn't. Again, we'll probably be scrapping it, but at the very least, I liked how these little shoes worked. I liked the shape of them, and that is what matters. I tried to put chainmail on here as well to make him more knight-like, but it also clashed, I felt like. Oh, also, it just occurred to me. If you do work in black and white, the reason why I'm changing the background color so much is because my values are definitely a little too similar, and I just wasn't thinking about it. So I definitely need to work on that personally. But if you're going to do concept artwork at this stage in black and white, definitely try to figure out values and make sure you have them pretty solid, because otherwise you're going to end up like me and everything is going to blend together and you're going to get a little frustrated with it. And that's okay for a first time, but I definitely will try not to do it again because it was not great. And speaking of not great, here is the hunched over pose. We hate it. Hate it, hate it, hate it. Again, dramatic and lovely, perhaps for a personality piece or an illustration. Probably a pretty good pose for an illustration. But character design wise, it just at the very least wasn't working for me. Might work for other people, but I just lost steam with this so quickly. I was worried about the pieces, trying to figure out how they bent and how they would move. And he kind of is starting to look super villainy here and not necessarily what I was going for. Um, so it's not the best look, but it is what it is. And we're just trying this out and seeing what works, seeing what sticks. It's okay that this didn't. But yeah, he definitely is looking, a little bit like Doctor Strange now that I'm looking at it. But that was definitely not the intention at all. I suppose Doctor Strange could be a necromancer if he really, well, he was in the newest movie, wasn't he? Anyway, I digress. uh, it just wasn't working. It really wasn't. His feet are way too big. I'm just noticing that. Awful, awful. I do at the very least remember to put hair on him this time around instead of just chucking that decision into the bin, but perhaps that's because I remembered I needed to put this in the thumbnail. Who knows? At this point, I am considering color as a last. I almost said resort. That's not what I was thinking of. As a last step. There we go. Putting in color at this stage is what is going to help me in the next for color blocking and figuring out other things. I'm flicking back and forth between purple and green. I think at some point I do blue as well, but I really settle on the purple because I enjoy it. It just struck the mood right, and that's really all I can say about that. But this is where we will end the video. There will be a next video where I go into the line art process, coloring more personality things and stuff like that with concept art. So hopefully you guys liked this. Sorry if it was rambly or even a bit too long. I really hope it wasn't. But either way, thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching all the way through or even watching part of it. If you have any suggestions or requests for video series or different videos, just let me know in the comments down below and I will try to figure something out. Thank you, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.